How you set it up?
So like, have like
Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Rutherford Board of Education, tonight, January 6th, 2020. May I ask you all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm now going to call the roll of just the returning members, and we'll deal with the new members a little bit later. Mrs. Ahmed?
Here.
Mr. Healy?
here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mrs. Librera?
Here.
Dr. Racine?
Here.
Dr. Alati?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Rutherford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place posted on the bulletin board outside the Borough Clerk's office, mailed to the Herald, South Bergenite, and the Record newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Hard copies of the agenda are available in the meeting room, and the agenda is posted electronically on the Friday before the meeting date on the district's website at www.rutherfordschools.org. Regular meetings of the Rutherford Board of Education will be broadcast without editing during a 2-hour segment as limited by Comcast time constraints on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. on the Comcast Public Access Channel and on FiOS Channel 38. A video of the meeting can also be viewed on our website, www.rutherfordschools.org. The video link can be found by opening the Board of Education link and clicking on Public Meetings and then Videos. Any member of the public who wishes to view a DVD of the meeting can make that request in writing to the Board Secretary. With regard to the minutes of the regular and executive session meetings of December 9th, 2019, does any board members have any comments or questions? Any changes to recommend? Seeing none, I will ensure those are put on the record. Just to review the results of the annual school election, which was held on November 5th, 2019. As a reminder, there were three-year terms open. Results were as follows. Dennis F. Mazzone received 1,635 votes. Christopher D. Conti received 1,693 votes. James L. Sprayberry received 1,352 votes. Frank Wilson received 956 votes, and the personal choice was selected 26 times. I would now like to administer the oath of office to the three candidates, Mr. Conti, Mr. Mazzone, and Mr. Sprayberry. So if I ask if the three of you will rise and meet me over at the microphone. Will you repeat after me, inserting your name where it should be, yes, where appropriate. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you very much. Congratulations. You may now take your seats on the board. Mr. Conti, you're right here. Mr. Sprayberry, we're going to put you over there next to Mrs. Jones. And Mr. Mazzone, you'll be at your old seat. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Glad to have you.
I will ask that the three of you, the oath of office that I gave you, if you could sign it at the X and return it to me, so I'll keep it on file in the board office. Okay, I'm now going to call the roll of the full board. Mrs. Ahmed?
Here.
Dr. Olati?
Here.
Mr. Conti?
Here.
Mr. Healy?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mrs. Librera?
Here.
Mr. Mazzone?
Here.
Dr. Racine?
Here.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Right now, annually, as most of you know, we do review the Code of Ethics that's prescribed in the board's bylaws. I have left a copy of those, of the Code of Ethics with each of you. What we're going to do is what we usually do is go around the table, maybe starting with Mrs. Jones to read the first one until they are all addressed.
In accordance with the NJSA 18A:12-24, every board member will abide by the following code of ethics. The board member will, 1, uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulation of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to school. Desired changes shall be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures.
Mr. Sprayberry?
2, make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing.
3, confine his or her board action to policymaking, planning, and appraisal, and help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them.
4, carry out his or her responsibility not to administer the schools, but together with the fellow board members, ensure they are well run.
Number 5, recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and make no personal promises nor take any private action that may compromise the board.
6, refuse to surrender his or her independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups, or to use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends.
Number 7, hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. In all of the matters, he or she will provide accurate information and in concert with fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools.
8, vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer.
Number 9, support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties.
10, referring all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer and act on the complaints at public meetings only after failure of an administrative solution.
Thank you. Each board member is required to sign an acknowledgement that he or she has received a copy, read, and will become familiar with the Code of Ethics for school board members contained within NJSA Chapter 18A:12-21, etc. The board secretary will provide each member with a copy of the Code of Ethics, which you have received, and the required acknowledgement on an annual basis, and will maintain the original signed acknowledgements in the board office. So at your earliest convenience, can you please sign the acknowledgement of receipt and pass it up to me, if you haven't done so already? Okay, the next order of business is the election of a board president. Can I have a motion to accept nominations for the office of President of the Board of Education? Mrs. Jones, a second. Mrs. Librera? Okay, we'll now accept nominations for office of President of the Board of Ed. Any nominations?
I'd like to make a nomination. I'd like to nominate Dr. Sergio Alati for President of the Rutherford Board of Education. I think that Sergio is more than qualified, and I think will be a very storyful leader of the board.
Thank you very much. Any other nominations? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close nominations for the office of President of the Board of Education? Mrs. Ahmed?
Make a motion to close the appointment.
The nominations for the
Nominations.
office, yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Can I have a second, please? Mr. Mazzone? Okay, may I now have a motion that in accordance with NJSA Chapter 18A:15-1 and Bylaw 0152, the Rutherford Board of Education in the County of Bergen elect Dr. Sergio Alati as President of the Board of Education, effective immediately until the next organization meeting as prescribed by law. Can I have that motion, please?
Motion.
Mr. Mazzone? Can I have a second? Mrs. Jones? Any questions, any comments? Okay, I'm going to call the roll. Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Alati?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Motion carried. Congratulations, Dr. Alati. You may take your seat up here when you're ready. You okay with this? Need anything from me?
Value, but besides that, I'm okay.
No, I'm sorry. We're out of Valium.
All right, well, I'll make some comments during the report of the president, if I can think of any between now and then. But I'm overwhelmed and very thankful and grateful to all of you for believing in me. Hopefully, it won't take too long to get through this next motion. I was listening very closely, Mr. Kelly. So we need to select a vice president. So I'm going to open the nominations and ask for nominations for vice president of the Board of Education. Ms. Jones?
I would like to nominate
Wait, we have to
Dennis-
finish that first. So you're going to make the motion to open the floor for nominations?
Okay.
Motion to open the floor to nominations.
Okay, and
Okay.
a second? Dr. Racine? Okay.
Great. And now, do we have any nominations? Mrs. Jones?
I would like to nominate Dennis Maison for the office of Vice President of the Rutherford Board of Education.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we're going to ask for a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
Ms. Librera, do you have a second? Mr. Mazzone? All right. So then, the next thing after that is a motion that in accordance with NJSA 18A-15-1 and bylaw 0152, the Rutherford Board of Education in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, elects Mr. Mazzone as Vice President of the Board of Education effective immediately until the next organization meeting as prescribed by law. Are there any questions or comments?
Can I make a comment? So I just want to say congratulations to the new board members. Say congratulations and well-deserved to the new positions of president and vice president. I think the board will be very well-served, and the community will be very well-served by these new members of the board and by the new leadership of the board. Also want to just take this opportunity to again acknowledge and thank Eddie Rowland, who I know is here, for his contribution, and Kevin McLean for his contribution as well as longstanding president and trustee. I think this is a very exciting time for the schools because of all we've accomplished over recent years, but also because of what's ahead over the next several years with the referendum. And I think we have a wonderful team in place on the heels of a wonderful team that's in part moving on, and I'm very excited for the work of the board.
Any other questions or comments? So now we'll need a motion on that bylaw I read. Dr. Racine? So moved. All right, do we have a second? Okay, Mr. Healy? And call the roll.
Yeah, any further questions?
Any further questions? All right, now let's call the roll.
Okay, this is the motion to elect Mr. Mazzone as vice president. Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Abstain.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Absolutely, yes.
Motion carried. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
And away we go. All right, so there was a board meeting schedule that was provided in your packet. It's a meeting schedule for 2020. Everyone should have had a chance to review that. So I would like to know if, Mr. Early, do you have any comments about board meeting schedule?
Nope.
Do we need to do a roll call to vote to approve those?
Yeah. No, Mr. Kelly, we don't do a roll call for that, do we?
Well, I think since we have a motion here, I think we should see it through.
Okay.
Okay, so then be it resolved by the Rutherford Board of Education to adopt the following board meeting schedule for 2020. Meetings are to be held at 7:30 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Can I have a motion to approve the board meeting schedule? Mr. Mazzone, a second? Mrs. Jones? Now we'll call the roll. Any questions?
Okay, Mrs.
Now we'll call the roll.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Next, we have the report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Lottie, and congratulations to Dr. Lottie and to Mr. Mazzone and to also our new members, Mr. Conti and Mr. Sprayberry. I think that I don't remember having a happy crowd like this at a board meeting, so I think it must be Mr. Sprayberry and Mr. Conti are they're just pulling them in. It's they're big draws. So we appreciate everyone coming out tonight as the board reorganizes. It was a exciting day for a number of reasons today in the district. As many of you know, one of our former students, 2009 graduate, Rami Youssef, was awarded the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a comedy series last night. And it was great to see it. And some of you know Rami and know he's been pursuing his career now. It's not a dream anymore. His real career. He's been on programs, network programs on Nickelodeon and now Hulu, HBO. And Stephen Way, who many of you know, is a long-term friend here from Rutherford, who's a cast member on the show with him. And it was exciting because NBC, again, for happy things to be in the news is great. We had a news coverage day here, and I was able to meet with the reporters and Stephen and talk to Rami from LA. So it was an exciting day, and we congratulate him on his success. And you knew it when he was a student here that he was earmarked for success. Speaking of videos, the word from the superintendent that I post every month, filmed today at Union School, and I'm going to visit a school the rest of the year and meet with the principal and maybe have the principal do most of the talking about a program or something in his or her building that wants to highlight. So that'll be a little bit of a twist to the monthly report that I do online. I'll be meeting with the principal. And today we recorded at Union School, the first one. Quick update on facilities. We're going out to bid on the Lincoln School project this week on Wednesday. The bid will be posted, and there'll be a period of time before the bids are awarded. And now in short order, as we go through the remaining months going into June, bids will be getting ready to go out for the variety of projects. Mr. Kelly and I are going to prepare a brief but hopefully informative update for the board and the community at our January 27th meeting, so of where we're at with various activities. Dr. Alani and I will be speaking about committee assignments for the upcoming year, and I'll be sending out to all of you electronically and then including hard copy in the next board package, the committee assignments. The electronic mailing would probably go out towards the middle to the end of this week. We will have a finance committee meeting on Monday night, the 13th, at 7 o'clock in the office of the superintendent. There may be some changes to the finance committee, so please take a look at the email that you get on Wednesday, and then Mr. Kelly and or I will email the members of the committee separately to inform you that you are now on the finance committee, which will be meeting the 13th. We don't plan on any other committee meetings probably until we get into February, so we have time to look at the assignments and go from there. Mr. McLean sent out today electronically, as we discussed at the last meeting in December, the school board's self-evaluation that the board completed. So if you didn't see it yet, when you check your email later, you'll see a copy of it. I did bring a couple of paper copies for the people who requested it. If anybody else would like a paper copy, I'll get you one, okay? We will be discussing this. I assume Dr. Alati will be discussing it at a future meeting. If it is the board's request still to have Matt Lee from school boards come in, we had talked about that in December. I will see Mr. Lee probably next week at a county meeting, and I'll inquire based on our dates now if he has a date in the near future to come in. Keep in mind that January 27th, in addition to the brief update we're going to give you on the facilities, we also are expecting our audit report, the board order to come in and report to the board. So that may not be the best night to bring Matt here, but we could do it in February, and I'll see what works for his schedule. Okay? And that's all for now. I'm looking forward to the start of the calendar year and the start of the new board year. It's going to be a busy year, a busy several years as we move forward with the normal business at hand and the facilities project. I'm looking forward to working with everyone again for another year. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hurley. So next is the report of the president. So I'll start by saying that I'm humbly honored to accept this role to serve as the next president of the Rutherford Board of Education. One of the things my father taught me when I was younger is that in order to know where you're going, you have to look at where you are and where you've been. So when I think about that, I can't help but to make sure to acknowledge and thank Mr. Kevin McLean for his service as board president, for his many years of service, and in the last 4 years that he served as president, I can say that he served as an inspiration to me with great insights and really provided timely feedback and role modeled a lot of the leadership qualities that I hope to be able to emulate. So thank you for everything you've contributed. And I have to say, when I look around here at all these board members, I feel more confident about assuming this role. It's corny to say teamwork makes the dream work, but I've always believed that. And this is an amazing team. I've had the pleasure of working with a number of you for the past few years that I've been on the board, and it's been amazing just to be able to learn from you and to see how committed you are, how much time you give. So I look forward to continuing to partner and work with everyone to continue to build the trust and a real transparency with all the things that we're doing. And to our two new board members, Mr. Christopher Conti, Mr. James Sprayberry, congratulations. I was able to attend Candidates Night, and during that evening, one of the questions that the two of you were asked is, when you think about an effective board, what does an effective board look like? And Mr. Conti, you said an effective board is one that is informed. And Mr. Sprayberry, I believe you said that it is a board that serves as a true voice for its students. And I will tell you that I think those are outstanding qualities. And I want you to remember those things, keep them at the top of mind as you continue forward. So congratulations to you both as well. I also want to acknowledge the folks to my left and right. I don't know if I know two people who work harder and longer hours than you two, Mr. Kelly and Mr. Hurley. I've been in awe watching everything that you've done, getting back to people in a timely way, listening, being responsive, and really having the best interest of the Rutherford School District in mind. So I'm proud to be on this Board of Education, and I look forward to working with you both. Before I make my last comment, I do want to acknowledge people who are here tonight. So first I want to thank everyone who's come tonight, family and friends who are here to support the new board members, and just your attendance is really meaningful. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Rowland, who served for a few years on this Board of Education, and your service is greatly appreciated. I remember sitting next to you at negotiations for the first time and saying, okay, there's the muscle. But your contributions were always valued, and I feel like I've learned a lot from you, so I really do appreciate that. And finally, I wanted to acknowledge tonight in the audience, we have our newly elected mayor, Frank Nunziato, and we have two councilmen here this evening. We have Mr. Goldsack, who was reelected, and also Mr. Malahi, who was not only reelected, but was appointed by the council as the new council president, and I believe is going to continue to serve as a liaison to the Board of Education. So I want to thank you, three of you, for coming this evening. It really means a lot. And I do have to acknowledge my wife and two children, because they're probably going to be the most impacted. So I'll have a conversation with them when I get home. I may need some help and backup. But finally, I guess really what I wanted to leave everyone with is this idea that I think this is a really exciting time to be a member of the Rutherford Board of Education. Because we are charged with making sure the schools are well run, not running the schools, that's up to these two. But the community, this town, decided to approve a referendum. And so we have not just an opportunity, but a responsibility to make sure that we complete all aspects of the referendum, alongside working with Mr. Hurley and Mr. Kelly. And I think that's an awesome responsibility, and one that I'm really excited about, and I couldn't think of a better team to work with. So thank you, and I look forward to what's to come.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio.
All right, so now we've got some new business. Actually, now we're going to open the meeting to the public. So we're going to be following board policy. And so this is going to be open to the public for agenda-related items. We're going to ask everyone, if they have comments, to keep them to 3 minutes. You'll come up to the microphone, state your name and your address. Just because we have a few people here this evening, typically when you are addressing the group, it's not a back and forth. But I do want you to know that every comment that's made by someone in the community is a valued one. So I'm always going to have a notebook, and we'll always be taking notes. So at this time, at 7:59, we're going to open up the meeting to public comments for agenda-related items. Okay, sir, if you could please state your name and address.
Hi, Kevin McLean, 85 East Pierpont, formerly associated with the board. I wasn't planning on making comments, but I think there have been a couple of things you all have said that remind me of some things. So, and I have served on the board for a number of years prior to this. The first thing is, I think, you were reflecting about what board membership is, and you're board members, but technically you're trustees. And the concept of trustees is something that goes back to Roman times, where when there's issues that are too complex to try to decide in a democratic case-by-case basis, you hire or appoint persons that can deep dive into it, understand it, and make decisions on behalf of your group, your citizenship. So that's what you all are charged with. It's a complex issue, as many of you who have served on the board know. Running the schools, which these two gentlemen do, is very complex. And I know, having worked with all of you more or less throughout the years, that you're fully up to the task. The other is, you were talking about opportunity, and I'd like to talk about optimism. I certainly picked a time to leave the board during an exciting time. I'm going to miss it for sure. Sitting in the bleachers, though, it's going to be very exciting as well. And we have to learn from the past, but it's all about what's going forward. And the optimism that you all bring to the board is reflected in the way you do the work. And I'm very optimistic that we're just going to move forward at an even faster pace. And Mrs. Ahmed, I know you didn't care for this, but going from good to great is something that I think this board is very capable of doing, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you on behalf of the community.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments? Yes.
Hi, good evening. Congratulations to the new board members. I'm Mike Lazzara. I live at 128 Chestnut Street. I'm the president of the Rutherford Swim Association.
I'm Christopher Dunn, 75 East Van Ness Avenue, vice president of the association. Congratulations to all the newly elected members.
So on your agenda tonight, you're going to see that the board is in motion to approve the new starting blocks for the Rutherford High School pool. This was one of our goals as an association right off the bat, to raise the money and to change them out. And right now they're in the process of being manufactured. So I'd like to present the board with a visual aid of what our new blocks are going to look like in next year. So BCB Bank has contributed $16,000, which we are so grateful for. Swimming was not sponsored at all in this town, and as the first couple of months of this organization, that was my primary goal, is to put swimming back on the map in this town, and I think we're doing a tremendous job. So I have a couple of testimonials that Chris and I are going to read. We just launched, 2 weeks ago, we launched our special swim. And it is one of the best experiences I've ever had, Chris has ever had, and it was exactly where our vision was headed. There was never a program catered for that in town, and so I'm going to read this. This is from a parent. It said, "I'm a parent of a special needs child who's 16 years old. He's always loved the water, but has never been able to master swimming. The goal has always been about safety and keeping his head above the water. Throughout the years, he's been enrolled in private lessons, group lessons, and special need lessons, but it has never seemed to work. However, this year, thanks to the Rutherford Swim Association and the expertise of Mike, Megan, Chris, and the volunteers, my son has finally learned to swim on his own, without a noodle or a vest, and he actually jumped off the diving board in the deep end. Well, the starting block, there's no boards there. I don't know what the secret sauce is, the combination of teaching skills, compassion, and determination, but something great is happening here, and we cannot thank them enough." This is just one of the very few successes we've had so far. Currently, we have 40 students enrolled in our swim academy, And we just opened 3 weeks ago for the swim academy. Chris?
So this is just another letter that we received. Dear Board of Education, Rutherford Swim Association is providing swim lessons unavailable by any other vendor in our area. Believe me, I have searched. Entitled Special Swim, this program is led by an extremely capable Red Cross trained special needs teacher, and high school buddies are in the pool assisting our kids, while special needs parents get to enjoy for once being dry and getting to watch from a short distance. What RSA Special Swim class is able to do is provide peers to influence our children, and the triumphs are coming week after week. So, like Mike said, these are just some of the stories that we've gotten from parents, and it is really awesome to see all these kids having to get to enjoy the pool, along with general needs kids coming in through our swim academy. So we want to thank you again for the opportunity. We're trying really hard. All of our work, we're spending hours at the pool trying to make it a better place, and hopefully down the road it becomes more and more inviting to the community.
And we invite all of you to stop by and see what we've done so far. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment on, from freshening the place up with paint, Rutherford Blue, and the blocks, which we've really have needed for many, many years. In a short period of time, certainly there's been a big step forward. So there's still a lot of steps to take, recognize that, but you're off to a good start, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Other comments related to agenda items?
Hi, Patricia Boylan, Breedland Avenue, Rutherford. I just wanted to also speak on behalf of the Rutherford Swim Association Special Needs Program. As many of you know, I am the parent of a child with special needs who's participating in the program, and they've really done a fantastic job in getting this together, getting high school students to volunteer to help out, and the kids are having the time of their lives, enjoying the pool, and really learning how to swim. So thank you for supporting it, and thank you to the Rutherford Swim Association.
Thank you.
Do you need this, or should I go back to them?
Mike, do you need these? I'll hold on.
Ms. Ahmed, you had a comment?
Yes, I just ask that you please continue, try to work on that scuba program that you had talked about, because I'm waiting to hear. It's coming. Okay.
Are you going to?
I will.
Really? I came this close to saying if Mrs. Ahmed does it, I'll do it too, but I'm not going to say that.
Any other comments related to agenda items?
Mark Goldsack, 10 West Newell Avenue. On behalf of Mayor Nunziato, Council President Malahi, and the rest of the Rutherford Borough Council, just wanted to congratulate Mr. Sprayberry, Mr. Conti on your election to the Board of Ed. Congratulate Mr. Alati and Mr. Mazzona on election to your positions. And just wanted to wish you all the best of luck in the upcoming calendar year. I just wanted all of you to know that we're looking forward to working with you. And should you need anything at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to any one of us. I think it's going to be a great year, not only for us, but for you guys. And we're looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That really means a lot. And, we feel similarly and look forward to a great 2020. Other comments related to agenda items?
Eddie Rowland, 7 Clark Avenue, Rutherford, New Jersey. I'd like to thank everyone for having me on the board for 3 years, putting up with me, and I learned a lot, and I will continue to use what I learned throughout anything that I get involved with the town. On the agenda tonight is the schedule for Board of Ed meetings, and there is conflicts between the Board of Ed and the mayor and council meetings. So I'm hoping this year that we can address that with the mayor and council to have a different time or date of conflicted meetings so that the people have the ability and the opportunity, bye Mark, to be able to have access to these things in person, to be able to have their voice heard, be able to hear what's going on, and not have to choose. Since our meetings are videotaped for the Board of Education, there's I guess a feeling that everything's easy to see, easy to access. So I'm hoping that something can be arranged that perhaps our system of videotaping could be shared with the board, with the mayor and council, so that they can also have the level of public accessibility that we have here. Thank you very much.
Any other comments related to agenda items? All right, seeing none, we're going to close that portion of public comments at 8:10 p.m. On the agenda, there's new business, action to be taken, starting with personnel. Mrs. Ahmed, can you run us through it?
Surely. With the board's approval, I hope we will be moving motions 1 through 12. 1, Charles McEwen, lunch monitor at Pierpont School. 2, Nicole Sanzari, substitute teacher at the pre-K ABA teacher at Washington School. Nicole Alelis, longtime substitute elementary teacher at Washington. Alavino Semyonova, long-term substitute at Pierpont School. Christine Cruz, extending unpaid childcare in leave of absence. Retirement monies to approve the payback sick days to the retiree Mary Ann Olbison. Rosa Garcia, student teacher at Lincoln School on Tuesdays. Moral Tom for her approval as a student teacher in Union School. 9, substitute teachers, Francesca Mastropiero and Nicole Sanzari. And 10, travel reimbursements for the 5 that are listed. 4, 5, 6 that are listed below. 11 is, I forgot. 11 to approve Erin White as the RTI math teacher at Pierpont School. And 12, Valerie Alfer, a home monitor at Rutherford High School. Rescind as a home monitor. That's it.
Okay, so Mrs. Ahmed, you're moving those 12 items. Mr. Hurley, any comments? Nope. Okay, can I have a second? Ms. Librera? Any discussion, comments, or questions? Seeing none, ask Mr. Keller to take roll.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Okay, next is curriculum and instruction. Mrs. Jones?
Yes, there are 7 resolutions put forth by the recommendation of the superintendent for board member consideration under curriculum and instruction. Resolution number 1, out-of-district placements, which was attached. Resolution 2 is to approve the service advisor of Medcare of East Rutherford. Resolution 3 has to do approval of field trips. Resolution 4, emergency bus evacuation drills. Resolutions 5, 6, and 7 are affirm the superintendent's decisions in 3 HIB investigations.
Okay, any comments, please?
No.
They're pretty.
Okay, so you're moving those?
I will.
Can I have a second? Okay, Ms. Librera? Any discussion, comment, questions? Ms. Ahmed?
Yes, on the approval of number 3, field trips, I think that includes the Rutherford High School, Regional Global Academy, Elements, YMCA for physical education activities. What activities do they have there that we don't have?
They have the full membership of their gym, the weight machines, the basketball court, all the things the gym would have. But more importantly, the purpose of the Bulldog Academy is to have our young adults, remember this is the 18 to 21-year-old students, to get out and function as adults would function. So this is the students who are in the library annex building and spend most of their days in the community. So this is a gym membership for them.
Okay, and number 48, the marching band championship, what date is that?
I'd have to look it up.
48 to approve
No, this is a report of field trips. That already happened. Yeah, this is, no, this is, well, the list gets sent to you, it's updated. The list also is added on, so the new ones get added on to the old ones. So it's one, yes.
That was in October.
Yeah, it's October. But this is a spreadsheet that gets added and it just accumulates.
Yep, Ms. LeBera.
I just have a question. Can we hear a little bit about number 2, the service provider? What sorts of medical services do we obtain as a district? That wouldn't be in lieu of in-school nursing.
This would be for drug, alcohol, suspicion.
I see.
Could be a suicide ideation, things of that nature.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none, I'm going to ask Mr. Kelly to take roll.
Sure. Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to go through finance. Dr. Racine?
Sure. We have 5 items on the agenda tonight. Number 1 is the approval of all bills. Number 2 is the November 2019 Secretary Treasurer's report. Number 3 are the budget transfers as listed. And number 4 is a donation of bleeding control kits from Mr. Rick Doran. Number 5 is a donation, as spoken about earlier, of the starting blocks, valued at $16,000 from BCB Bank.
I was good.
Just have a wording change to that last one, number 5. I'd like it to read as follows, and then this will be reflected in the minutes. Be it resolved by the Rutherford Board of Education to accept with gratitude a donation of 6 starting blocks to the Rutherford Swim Association to be installed at the Rutherford High School swimming pool, valued at $16,000 from BCB Community Bank. The Rutherford Swim Association is, as you heard, the organization that did actively pursue this grant. That was not us. So I think we wanted to just reflect that.
And I would like to comment on number 4. Mr. Doran, earlier in the year, also donated, and the board accepted, rather large posters to put in the high school and the middle school regarding vaping, awareness of the problems with vaping. And he just donated these 6 bleeding control kits. What a year ago, in October of 2018, I had arrangements with Hackensack Hospital to come in and provide stop the bleed training to our staff. And this is the sort of training you would hope you never use, but major catastrophic type of bleeding. And of course, we got the training, but the equipment we needed, we didn't really have that. And these kits are probably valued at about $150 each. Mr. Doran graciously donated them with the hope that he said we never have to use them. So I think that's really is a wonderful thing for him to do, and much appreciated. And I share his wish that we never have to use them, but it's good to be ready in case we ever have to.
If I could add to that, as an EMT with Rutherford First Aid and one of the instructors here when we taught to stop the bleed, invaluable. Bleeding control stations are now commonly found, at most colleges, universities, high schools, airports. If you haven't gotten trained in how to stop critical bleeding, it's really important that you do. I carry a bleeding control kit with me. I think it's that important, and I think that having in our schools, I agree with you, Mr. Hurley, I hope that we never need to use them, but as our first responders, are trained, whether it be police, fire, EMS, when they come through and do entry into a school, they're going to be looking for this, and we'll be grateful we have these tools should we ever need them. So I'd like to thank Mr. Doran.
Yeah, yes.
I just have one question. Are the blocks are installed, the swimming blocks?
No,
or
not yet.
not yet? Okay. Will our swim team have advantage of them if they're done before the end?
Once
of the
they're ready to go, yeah, I think, they're being manufactured, so it takes a while.
There'll be a permanent installation there at the end of the pool, so yes, they will.
And I believe the blocks we currently have been there for well over 20, 25 years, so we'll get many years
We'll
of
get
good
a
use
last
out of
couple
them.
weeks
Yeah,
in,
right.
okay.
Do we formally acknowledge donations?
Yes.
How do we do that?
Board secretary sends a letter.
We send a letter to them.
Any other comments? So, Dr. Racine, you moved those 5?
To move items 1 through 5 in finance.
Okay. And I have a second. Mr. Healy? Any other comments? Take the roll.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Dr. Alati?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
All right, next order of business is policy. Mr. Healy, is there any update?
We did not have any policy committee meetings since our last board meeting, and there are no resolutions for this evening.
Okay, very well. So we're going to move on to building and grounds. Mr. Mazzone, is there an update?
We have not had a meeting since our last board meeting, and I have no motions for this evening.
Okay. So with that, we're going to move on to old business. No? All right, legislative updates. So, well, our legislative update normally comes from someone who's not sitting around the table right now. So, Mr. Hilly, do you have any legislative updates you want to share?
Nothing that we haven't already discussed,
Okay, so at 8:21 p.m., we are going to open the meeting up to the public for any comment, either related or not related, to the agenda. All right, seeing none, at 8:21, we're going to close the meeting to public comments. I believe there is a need for executive session.
2 student issues.
About how long should we be done?
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
About 5 minutes, okay, 5 to 10 minutes. So motion to adjourn?
No action.
And no action will be taken.
Motion
To move to executive session.
Motion to move into executive session.
So
Gotta
moved.
Bear with me between anxiety and newness. Get it down, I promise. All right. I have Mr. Jones. We have a second. All right, Mr. Healy. Did we just say all in favor?
Action will
Not be taken.
Action will not be taken.
Okay. Just, all in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
No?
Any opposed?
Abstain? All right, meeting's adjourned.
Good job for your first meeting.
No? I didn't.
Now we're going executive.
Oh, no, we're going into executive session.